Hello, this is another episode of Moraine Reads, and I would like to introduce you to the amazing poet, Ms. Sonia Sanchez. I first met her work in a collection from 1984 called Homegirls and Hand Grenades. And I wanted to read three of the pieces from it, but they're all prose pieces. And I realized, this is going to run long and you're going to get bored and with me and, um, and leave. So I decided, okay, well, two of them are pretty famous and you can find them on the web easily. Um, this is the one that I don't think is as well known, but has always stayed with me all these years. This is Bubba. How shall I tell you of him? Bubba, young man of Harlem. Bubba, of filling stations and handball games, of summer bongo playing, of gangbangs, of strict laughter piercing the dark, long summers that kept us peeled across stoops looking for air. Bubba, of gangs who pimped a long walk across Harlem and decided who would pass and who would stop at the gateway of life. Bubba, black as a panther. Bubba, whose teeth shone like diamonds while he smiled at us from across his dominion, who stretched his legs until they snapped in two when his days became shorter and schools sent him out among the world of pushcarts and do-rags of 7th Avenue. Bubba, who gave his genius up to the temper of the times. While I marched off to Hunter College and the aroma of Park Avenue, while I marched off to Proust and things remembered, while I read sociology texts that reminded us few blacks that we were aberrations of the world. Bubba and others marched off to days of living in a country that said, I'm the greatest hustler in the world. So don't come downtown and try to hustle me. Hustle your own. And he did. And they did. Hey there, pretty young lady. Yeah, you strutting your black behind across 125th Street. I be digging on you. See that corner over there, baby? Stretch out in that corner so we can live in style that we ain't never been accustomed to, want to be accustomed to. And she did, and they did. Young girls throwing their souls on Harlem corners, standing dead on dead avenues, caged black birds in a country without age or memory. One summer day, I remember Bubba and I banging the ball against the filling station. Handball champs we were. The king and queen of handball we were. And we talked as we played. He asked me if I ever talked to trees or rivers or things like that. And I, who walked with voices for years, denied the different tongues populating in my mouth. I stood still denying the commonplace things of my private childhood, and his eyes pinned me against the filling station wall, with my eyes became small and lost their color. I hear voices all the time, he said. I talk to the few trees we have here in Harlem. And then he smiled a smile that kept moving back to some distant time, and I stopped looking at him and turned away. I thought I would get lost in his sorcery. When I was real small, he continued, I used to think that the moon belonged to me, that it came out only for me, that it followed me everywhere I went. And I used to When it got dark there in North Carolina, I used to run around the backyard and wait for the moon to appear. And when she came out, I would dance a wild dance that woke up my father. My father used to scream outside at me and say, "Stop that foolishness, boy. You ain't got the sense you was born with." Bubba laughed, a laugh that came from a million cells. I ain't never told anybody this before. But you, so dreamy like girl, always reading, that I thought you would know what it was to walk with drums beating inside you. But you're just brain with no imagination at all. Catch you later, baby. I'm gonna go on downtown to a flick. I nodded my head as he left. I nodded my head and I hit the ball against the wall. I nodded my head as the voices peeped in and out of my ears and nostrils, leaving a trail around my waist. I picked myself up from the fear of anyone knowing who I was and went home, never to talk to Bubba again about seeing behind trees and walking over seas with flowers growing out of my head. Words, books, waltzed me to the tune of Hunter College days. I severed all relationships with my block. Each night, I drenched myself with words so I could burst through the curtain of Harlem days and nights. My banner was my tongue as I climbed towards the gourds of knowledge and recited a poem of life. Hey there, girl. How you be? Here you are going 100 now. How is it? It was Bubba. Bubba, of greasy overalls, of two children screaming for food, of a wife pregnant with another, of the same old neighborhood. Oh, Hunter's all right, Bubba, if you like that sort of thing. But what you studying, girl? What you studying to be? A teacher? A lawyer? What? Well, I'm studying a little sociology, psychology, history, chemistry. I'm not quite sure what it is I intend to be. Do you understand? Yeah, I understand. Catch you later, girl. And he walked his tired footsteps to the corner bar and went inside. And I stood outside, afraid to cross the street, abandoned to the rhythms of Americans' tom-toms. One day after graduation, I returned to the old neighborhood. I recognized a few faces and sat and talked. I was glad to sit down. I had taught all day long. I answered the questions of my former neighbors, and the tension of the years dissolved in our laughter. Just people remembering together. Laughter. Does Bubba still live around here? I finally asked. The women pointed to a mini park, and I called out goodbye and walked past the filling station to the park. There he sat, nodding out the days, the years. As long as I have hands that write, as long as I have eyes that see, as long as I can bear your name against silence, I shall never forget our last talk, Bubba. That September day when I sat next to you and told you my dreams and my prayers. The eyes froze, the air froze as you raised your hand and spoke. Hey there, girl. How? And I continued to talk, holding your hand. Silence. Remembering for you the laughter you gave us so freely. Thanking you, sorry, for the conversations and the protection you gave. Hey there, girl, he sniffed. Want to play some handball? And I waited with him on that bench, watched the sun go down, saw the moon come out. Bubba, I said, there she is, your old friend the moon, coming out just for you. He finally pulled himself up off the bench. He stood up with the last breath of a dying man. How about a few bucks, girl? Gotta see a man about something. I handed him a 20. He put it in his pocket, scratched his legs, and nodded goodbye. Bubba, if you hadn't fallen off that roof in 57, you would have loved the 60s. Bubba, you would have loved Malcolm. You would have plucked the light from his eyes and finally seen the world in focus. Bubba, your footsteps sing around my waist each day. I will not let the country settle into a sleep of the innocent. This is Joe from the library. This was another episode of Moraine Reads. That was Sonia Sanchez from the 1984 collection, Homegirls and Hand Grenades. And the title of the piece is Bubba. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Keep on reading.